Thanks for staying with us on Point. Now, in his weekly letter to the nation today, President Cyril Ramaphosa said, and I quote, that last week South Africa was ranked first in the world as a destination for global business services, often called business process outsourcing. That was in a survey of over 600 executives from 8 key sourcing markets, including Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, the UK and the USA. Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, who's the Vice-Chancellor of UJ, joins me now. Professor, thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. How competitive would you say South Africa is in terms of tech, internet access and the digital economy?
Well, thank you very much, Nzinga, for the invitation, and good afternoon to you and your listeners. I think there is still quite a great deal to be done. I mean, when we talk about business outsourcing, we know that...
Professor, my apologies, please continue.
Yeah, there was some background noise. We know that one of the big issues is connectivity, because if you can just imagine that if you are going to be replying call centers from Cape Town for people in Europe, our connectivity and the price of data must actually be low. But otherwise, we are an English-speaking world, which basically means that we are competitive. And in fact, countries such as India, which are also competitive, is also because of the fact that they are English-speaking world. So I think there's quite a bit to be done, but if we can put our heads together, I'm sure we can actually be able to corner this market.
PricewaterhouseCoopers says that AI will grow the world's economy by $2.6 trillion by the year 2030. I know you've spoken about putting heads together and trying to access these kind of opportunities, but is there a particular place where South Africa could have an advantage when it comes to the digital economy?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think that if you look at some of the startups that are happening in South Africa in this area of IT, we certainly have a competitive edge. No? But obviously, it's not just about technology, it's also about access to capital. Are our banks, do they have the risk appetite to be able to finance small and medium enterprises? All those things will require to be put together for our people to actually be leading in this digital economy.
Yeah, you've spoken around this topic about the United States and China emerging as AI superpowers. With that also comes the potential for the wealth gap and the digital gap between Africa and those two large economies and the rest of the world growing and the continent getting left behind again. What do we do?
No, absolutely. We need to invest in human capacity development. We need to incentivize our industries to be able to participate in this economy. We need to get the infrastructure going. I mean, we all talk about spectrum, connectivity, cost of data. All those things are very, very important to put into place. We need to make sure that the legislative framework actually facilitates our participation in this new economy, and ultimately we obviously need to invest in human capacity development, especially in areas such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and so on and so forth. If we can be able to do all those things, then we are going to succeed.
You've spoken about the institution that you lead, UJ. Every student there has to learn about AI or do a course about AI. Tell us a little bit about that and what it involves. And should our curriculum from a primary level onwards be incorporating more artificial intelligence, more data science and the like?
No, absolutely. I mean, the sooner we start, the better. I mean, there's a book that was published about 2 years ago at the University of Johannesburg and the university in Brazil, which is about artificial intelligence for kids who are less than 8 years old. So we have to do that. And we need to teach coding in our schooling system, starting from primary schools all the way to tertiary levels. we have to, at the tertiary level, we are a case in point where we teach all our students artificial intelligence. We don't teach them to be experts because this is a general course. We teach them about what is this technology, what does it do, where has it been applied, what are some of the pitfalls, how do we prepare ourselves so that we can be active participants in this new era.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to that, though, there are already challenges with South Africa's basic education as it stands now. That very widely quoted study about how children in grade 4, I think, are unable to really read for meaning, especially when it comes to mother tongue. Is there a will and a collective drive to ensure that there is this kind of education that's going to happen? Because it's very good to talk about the theory, but if the practice and the practical things aren't in place, we could really see ourselves being left even further behind.
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's a secret that we do have some serious challenges in our educational systems. We still have kids who are learning from mud schools. So we need to get these things going. But one thing that I would advise is that education is not just the responsibility of government. It is also the responsibility of parents, of family members, of communities, and so on and so forth. So if we just think that education is only going to happen in the schooling system, then we're mistaken. Nowhere in the world does anybody assume that. Parents must be involved. For the case where parents are not literate enough to be involved, communities must be involved, and so on and so forth.
Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon, discussing the state of the digital economy as well as education that's going to lead to perhaps South Africa and the rest of the continent finding their place when it comes to artificial intelligence and the digital economy among the world. Now,